old will you live?
I want to live to at least 80. So 80 I'd be happy with.
I'll go the day after she goes.
No, I think like maybe late 80s.
That's pretty young.
Early 90s.
That's pretty young.
No, older 60s.
I hope over 95 or over 92.
My big goal is to reach 100.
I hope I live to the late 90s. I mean, that's really winning the lottery of life.
我活到98 90
Oh, probably, hopefully, no later than 85.
And the chances of living past that?
My age, my race in this country, with my resources, like, probably pretty high.
With like modern medicine, we're looking at probably 100.
I'm not letting myself get old.
Well, I'm 86 and I don't feel old. I know I am, I know I am, I know I am.
What do you think will happen when you die?
Hopefully I'll be uploaded to a computer by that point, but...
This is very informative.
I'm a devout atheist nihilist, and I think the fact that there is nothing after death makes the decisions you make on life more important, because this is your one shot.
I do think it's possible to have a good death.
I don't know why I'm scared of getting old.
I'm scared of pain and loneliness.
If you die first, I'll die of a broken heart.
If you die first, I'll kill you.
What does your ageing journey look like? Welcome to the best 30 years, helping to make your ageing journey the very best it can be. As Mae West once said, you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. And that's exactly what we're here to do, help you do the ageing journey just right. In previous episodes of The Best 30 Years, we've covered the gamut of the ageing journey, from health to wealth to diet. So in this final episode, we're going to talk about the elephants in the room, loss of independence and mortality.
This happened to me very, very quickly.
I'd like to keep going, but I know, in the last 12 months I've declined a lot in ability to do things, my mobility particularly.
Ageing demands we confront harsh truths.
Having to face illness and incapacity as we age, and of course, confronting mortality. There are many positive realities as well, but we can't avoid the negative ones.
Some people deny their fading health and well-being because they're scared of aged care. But an aged care facility is there to care for you when you can no longer care for yourself.
Many of us don't plan for this stage of life at all. Strangely, it's often the most able among us who ignore it because they think they can. For others, planning has long been a crucial part of life because it must be.
When you have a disability like me, you have to learn how to plan things as much as you can, just because everything always takes more time than it does for those able-bodied, yippee-yelping people, those startled gazelles dancing around the streets. And so it's important always to keep in mind preparation.
And preparation as we age can include a conversation about residential aged care.
I think the biggest obstacle when it comes to aged care is actually having the conversation about the need for care. So a lot of the time people avoid that conversation because they think it's a slippery slope to a nursing home. In reality, the sooner you have that conversation, the more choices that are going to be available to you and the more options that you'll have, because you'll have time to explore those options rather than taking what's available perhaps in a crisis situation down the track.
Having a loved one move into an aged care home is a difficult time. It's a time where emotions are heightened within a family. And certainly the question is, how are we as a family going to navigate through that time? Families who have planned for this time, planned for this stage with the appropriate documentation will navigate through this stage of life with relative ease and with less stress. But if we haven't planned for it with the right documentation in place, then these emotions can sometimes take over and family conflict can occur.
Considering residential aged care is an understandably confronting time for all. So it's important that we talk about it more and share our stories. Like this one. Let's call this Yasmin's story.
Yasmin says she would like to look after her parents in her home. but she can't afford not to work. And when she's not working for money, she's caring for her grandchildren. She says it feels like a vice that's increasingly tightened because her mum also has increasing dementia.
There's no denying that this stage can be heartbreaking. It feels like a huge step, but in essence, it's about the safety of your heart, mind, and body. And your loved ones can keep an eye on your care, making sure that all your needs are being met.
It's not just the presence of a room or the presence of food or the ability to exist in a place, is we need to be always keeping and holding to account those institutions to say, how are we continuing to care for their needs that go beyond the physical and go to the emotional, social and community.
Australia is regarded as having one of the best residential aged care services in the world, with over 200,000 residents across 3,000 aged care homes. This requires a massive 260,000 staff to provide this care every day and night. They provide the respectful, warm touch that is real care, and often the only real companionship that residents receive in these days where families are spread across the world.
Aged care residents have lived a full and varied life, and now their aged care home is their home. It requires a special empathy to work in residential aged care because the residents are on a journey which staff become part of. Many residents are very frail. In fact, more than 50% have dementia, requiring trust, respect, and that extra time to listen and support. This is done every day, on every shift.
Think of it this way. Aged care staff are the residents' companions with them every day over their final few years, ultimately to their death. It is very personal.
I heard of a woman who was in aged care for 7 years and not one of her sons ever visited.
It's true. Some people in aged care never have a visitor. Some have few. Some rely on the companionship and entertainment offered by the aged care home itself. For many, the idea of residential aged care is so terrifying, they not only don't want to experience it, they also don't want to think about it. But talking and thinking about it is exactly what we must do. We need to stop denying the ageing process. In fact, we need to learn to embrace and respect it. Hiding from the final stages of life is not serving our elderly, our loved ones, or our society. Interestingly, it has long been said, do not regret growing older. It is a privilege denied to many, but that doesn't make it easy.
Well, once I got to a certain age, well, middle age, when things come up, you sort of feel comfortable, you can deal with it. So when suddenly our elderly parents need advanced care, that's actually come as an entirely new, really complex experience in life. My family work full-time or otherwise attend school. So basically, Dad was actually absolutely entirely by himself most of the time. Look, ultimately, he was not appropriately cared for at home.
So what were the main considerations?
Just trying to find the right environment and I guess social circle for him so that he can live more happily.
The concept of aged care homes can be very challenging. They have to be hospital-grade hygienic and efficient for staff and safe. But for the residents, it's their home, and compared to being actually in their old home, it is far safer and better. Think of it this way. Compared to being at home and isolated, aged care residents have people around them all day. They have activities and get balanced, nutritious meals. And they have medical support and GPs visiting most days. They are safe.
From my point of view, I think, what's to worry about? The place is comfy, the staff is lovely. I would still love to go back and look after myself and do my own cooking and everything else. The trouble is, I can't realise that I'm getting old.
Preparing for such a big life change is preferable, but for many, this change is made for them through circumstance.
This happened to me very, very quickly. I was, at the time, very fit. I was doing a lot of walking and I felt as though I could live to 100 quite easily at home. But circumstances very quickly changed it. And this is the point, is you just don't know when things are going to happen.
Of course, this change in life can be a little bit of a shock for everyone.
You know, when you're so used to taking care of yourself and doing your own cooking and gardening, and you're still driving and everything else. So yes, it takes a bit of time to acclimatise, but that's all right. I'm very adaptable.
And what if you're in a relationship and you each need a different level of care?
One of the reasons why we chose here was because of the aged care facility, which is separate but is part of the precinct. Len goes over there for respite each day, which means it gives him a totally different outlook.
It conjures up respite. You think, oh, that's the end of your life. But it isn't really. It's what you make it as well. And, of course, you've got people around you.
So that was very important to us, that there was this ongoing process, because then that means there were no decisions we had to make between now and when we pop off.
But of course, the staff are making a lot of decisions to ensure the residents' lives are as rich as they can be.
We try to accommodate for people's not only physical needs, but emotional, spiritual, cultural. It's really, really important to try and see the person as a whole. The staff are very respectful of that, and that know that they are actually coming into the residents' home when they come to work. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, morning tea, afternoon tea, supper, activities, parties, wine cart, it's more like a hotel than the old-fashioned nursing home, because it's not like that anymore.
Of course, not all are the same. And this is why planning is important, including planning your finances.
So when it comes to aged care, it's important to know that the government pays the majority of the cost. Residents in an aged care facility are really broken into two groups. There's low means residents and market price payers. The low means residents pay a contribution towards their accommodation, and the government top that up. Market price payers, as it sounds, pay the market price for their accommodation. All residents of an aged care facility can pay the basic daily fee, which is set at 85% of the pension, and there's a means-tested care fee that goes on top based on your assets and income. It's a fairly complicated formula, and it's important that you get advice to make sure that you understand the implications.
Do you feel invisible? Are you scared of dying? Are you worried you'll be lonely? Will your family look after you?
Yes, there are a lot of questions, but in this episode, we're posing one that is rarely asked. Have you planned for residential aged care?
In an ideal situation, transition into permanent care would be planned, coordinated, and involve that person who is moving into care. But it is often driven at a time when there is a crisis either for the person moving into care or for the carer themselves. Guilt, relief, and a loss of identity are common emotions experienced by the carer. For the person moving into care, there may be a loss of dignity and control at that time.
So are there professionals to help make this transition?
Care staff are highly skilled in this space, and they will help make that transition as smooth as possible for the person who is transitioning into care as well as the family.
So professionals are there to help us with the ageing journey. But how can we help each other?
I think it's so important to start having that conversation. People are really afraid to start talking about it, but there's this sense of relief when they know that you're happy to engage with them and you're happy to talk about these issues with them. It's really important to have your affairs in order and make sure those who love you, your friends, your family, know what your wishes are. And prioritise your activities. Don't spend time vacuuming and cleaning the house when you'd much prefer to be having a cuppa with a close friend.
Well, I think we're all thrilled to be advised we can stop vacuuming. But what else should we do?
I wish I could tell you there was one secret thing that you could do that's going to give you a happier, healthier old age. And the fact of the matter is, it's a bundle of stuff.
It's about making sure there are people around you. And if you're losing people around you, how are you going to maintain relationships and develop new relationships through hobbies and so on? It's about what you eat and how you eat, the diverse diet, and making sure that you cook for yourself. It's about getting exercise, not turning into some Mr. Universe or, some version of the Kardashians. It's really about being happy in yourself and who you are.
Disturbingly, many of us have lived our lives so far feeling inadequate, quite dissatisfied with who we are, until now. Because the good news is it's possible to change your attitude.
There's little point living a long life if you're miserable doing it. And it's the people with the best attitudes who get up on a daily basis with something to do that seem to do the best, have the best journeys and the longest journeys.
Some people live life in terms of the legacy they'll leave. Some ponder life's meaning. Some wish they'd looked after their health. Apparently, most wish they'd spent more time with friends and family. Is there anything else?
I think it's important that you feel that your life matters through your relationships, whether it be through your family, your friends, or your community.
So it's important to give love and friendship, but also to be open to receiving it.
It's important that you feel that somebody cares about you.
And John's thoughts?
The secret to a wonderful old age is having a place to go, is having a contribution to make, and is to have a great set of friends with whom you can share a meal.
It's important to be present, to live every day as though it were your last, because one day it will be. So let's make these years the very best.
I think when I'm in aged care, I'm going to get a food delivery every day.
Of what?
Hash cookies.
Now you're talking.
What is the secret to a wonderful old age?
Well, don't covet what everyone else has for a start.
A lot of it depends on yourself. You've got to make your life. Get up and do things. You don't know how much longer you've got to live, so enjoy it.
Try and do something every day. Don't just sit around watching TV or anything like that at all.
Use it or lose it. Keep as active as possible.
Life is so uncertain. We have to make the best of it. Accept every day as it comes.
We make sure we get out and do a walk each day, so...
Little grandchildren keep you going, of course. They give you another lease of life. It's amazing when they come along, so it's sort of it's a new beginning almost.
You can't rely on other people to give it to you and shower you with happiness. You've got to be happy yourself.
But what about love?
I would still like to have a husband.
The first wife was good, second wife was good.
But love isn't always rosy.
I had a nice man friend here. We were going to get married, and he was a lovely man. But he died on me. Damn him.
Well, that story took a twist. But then keeping a sense of humour is crucial to a happy ageing journey. And what else is?
And keep smiling and keep involved in the community too. That is really, really important, I think.
My attitude is to be happy.
But if you're not happy, how should you think?
Give me the strength to accept the things I cannot change the things I cannot accept, and the wisdom to know the difference.
You can turn it around.
Can I put up with it or can't I? It gives you the answer straight away. It's either yes or no. And if it's no, well then, what are you going to do about it?
And so it seems we must take all the wisdom of ageing and live like wise children. We must play, laugh, giggle and jump in puddles, but not break a hip. We must be with people who make us feel special, think of others beyond ourselves, reach out when we need help. We must be brave about facing the realities of ageing so that we're not afraid. We need to giggle when we can, seek other humans, enjoy nature, stay curious and live in wonder. The ageing journey can be hard, but then again, who knows? They could be the best 30 years of your life. In this series, we've aimed to help you and your loved ones on the ageing journey, because a load shared is lighter and a lot more enjoyable. So what do you think your life will look like when you're older?
Yeah, I want to live in a sweet penthouse and have a personal chef.
How old do you think old is?
60. 60? That's a bit young.
How old is old?
That's hard.
Like my dad thinks he's quite old, but he's not. I feel I'm quite young, but I'm not. So it's one's perception.
For more information regarding the specialists, accommodation or subjects featured in this episode, please go to thebest30years.com.au.
Do you still have passion in your life?
Yeah, of course we do.
Oh, yeah. He's my toy boy. Why wouldn't I have passion?
Cut that out,
gorgeous.
Betsy.
No, you can't cut that out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Fantastic.
Well, you asked.